Oh, sugar honey iced tea. It's the EAC Show.
Good day, ladies and gents. I'm Emilio A. Colon.
And I am Marcus Mack, and this is the EAC Show coming to you from sunny South Florida with episode 64.
Episode 64, and joining us today, UCF activist, overall sports enthusiast, the big one, Cameron Dinnan, has returned.
He's back.
That shit never gets old, man. I'm happy to be back with my people. So what's going on?
What's going on,
glad
Cam?
to have you back, man. Welcome to episode 64 of the EAC Show. Myself and Marcus Mack, we miss you, buddy. A lot to talk about, so much to address. We got football, all type of football to discuss. We got MLS to discuss. We got NHL. We got NBA. We got MLB. And we got Fight Island to discuss, too,
UFC,
all on
my favorite.
Friday's episode.
I'm thrilled, man. Let's get going. If we can't watch sports, we might as well talk about it.
Absolutely. So we're going to start with football in general. Just football, not NFL, not NCAA, just football in general, because we got three topics to talk about this. And the first one we're going to discuss, Marcus Mack and Cameron, we're going to discuss how the Power 5 conferences have decided that they're only going to play conference-only games in college football. The SEC, I think, is still a little bit indecisive, right, Cameron?
Yeah, the SEC is sort of the last big power to join along with because the SEC uses those out-of-conference games as essentially like breathers. You know, they'll play, 7 SEC games in a row and then play Western Carolina before the last game of their year. So they like to use those games as sort of breaks, if you will. But yeah, I would imagine that they're going to hop on board also. And it's tough to see right now. It's
so
terrible.
Marcus Mack, this is all predicated obviously on the coronavirus because all of these schools want to stay within their conferences. The only hiccup here is that some conferences, like their teams are so far out of the conference. It's like, yo, you got to go halfway across the country to still play somebody that's in your conference. So it doesn't make sense sometimes.
Correct. Like you'll see like FSU go to play Syracuse. Like that's still, all the way up the seaboard there.
Yeah, absolutely, Marcus. So you'll have a team from Florida, the Seminoles, flying all the way to New York to still play somebody in their division, and that's the big difference. You got coronavirus New York versus coronavirus Florida. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so you're definitely putting people at risk. But I think they had no choice but to do this, Marcus Mack and Cameron. Like when you're talking about people's safety and health, you want to try to minimize that risk as much as possible. So flying across the country to play non-conference games really doesn't make sense, and you're going to try to do your best to salvage as many games in college football as possible.
Right, and I did see a lot of arguments back and forth on Twitter. A lot of people thought it was just about the travel. Like, for instance, Rutgers, which is in New Jersey, this year is supposed to play Temple, which is in Philadelphia. I think they're like 60 miles apart, but Rutgers is going over 1,000 miles away to play Nebraska in their conference. So there was a lot of back and forth, and it really isn't about the travel. It's more about if they do only conference, they're able to work together as a conference in order to move games if they will. The testing is more reliable because it's in-house sort of thing. So that's something to separate there. But it is tough. These Power 5 conferences, they're not the ones that are going to be hurting about this. It's going to be, the little guys. It's going to be, the teams like UCF, like Boise State, like Cincinnati, that are really taking a ding here because they rely on those games, not only, to, let their players play upper echelon teams, but also for the resume factor. They're not only getting paid money in order to play these Power 5 schools, but, in UCF's case, they play North Carolina, they were supposed to play, UNC, week 1, which is a top 25 matchup in Orlando, and then week 3 at Georgia Tech. You have teams like Houston who are supposed to play Wazoo and Boise State who are supposed to play FSU. So you lose those games. It's tough.
Marcus Mack, you can always rely on Cameron to be such a homer. He almost snuck that in there. He got that UCF talk right in there. He almost got it in. He almost got it in without us saying anything, Marcus Mack.
Yeah.
Well, you see, I added Boise State and Houston to sort of to throw you off a little bit. You know what I mean?
Listen, not for nothing, Cameron and Marcus, I think that this is a great idea in order to get games in. We need to get college football games in because in all actuality, if a college football season is not played, this hurts a lot of student athletes. It literally domino effects all the way down, and that is not good for the bottom line when it comes to college athletics at all. Like, that's the business side of it, Marcus, and I know how big on business you are on this show. If college football is not played, every other sport in college has to take a deduction or completely get eliminated, period.
Yeah, well, you know, right now, and we definitely spoke about this before, right now, the schools have been very adamant about making sure that these that the athletes are taken care of as far as with the whole coronavirus situation. And the last thing we want is to hear about these schools just negligent about the athletes. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, the business is one thing, but again, same thing when we spoke about the big leagues. You know, the safety is much it's the priority. And, you know, if traveling is what's necessary right now just to be able to deliver the product and get the games going, and that's what's going to have to happen. But the safety of the athletes and safety of the students is definitely what's most important.
You want to know what my opinion is on this whole canceling of out of conference games. I think it has to do with the Power 5 teams and really college football in general, including the Ivy League, which canceled football altogether this season. I think they're buying time. I think they rely a lot on the concessions in the stadium, the ticket sales, and because, you know, not only this fall, if football is played, they're going to have to reduce that from anywhere from, you saw, 10 to 25% stadium capacity. I think they're using this ploy to cancel out of conference games in order to nudge the NCAA to say, all right, you know what, let's push this back until the spring. And that way in the spring, when everything is sort of cleared up, then we can go, you know, at least 50% in the stands and we'll play out of conference games. I see that as what that is.
Excellent point, because that literally is going to lead into the next topic that we were going to discuss. And Marcus, I sent this to you on social media. The Jaguars said they're going to try to come out and have from day one 15 to 20,000 people in the stands from the first game of the year. So the NFL has a totally different aspect of it. They're like, look, we're going to follow CDC guidelines, but we're trying to get fans into the stadiums no matter what. I know the Ravens have sat there and said that if fans come, there's going to be between 14,000 or fewer. So the NFL, mind you, the billion-dollar business that they are, they're like, F that, fuck that. We getting people in here some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Well,
so you're saying, my bad. So what you're saying is the Jaguars are going to have the same amount of fans as they always do.
Oh, of course.
That's what you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, you see, MLB is doing the best that they can as far as the fans go.
Oh yeah, but I mean, with
right.
the
yeah,
NFL,
but the NFL
the NFL is a different monster. It's
the NFL is definitely a completely different monster, and you know, I want to see how they pull it off, and watching the innovation from the beginning of the whole coronavirus, the COVID-19 situation, from the WNBA to the draft to everything, the innovation of how they was pulling everything off. I was ecstatic to see it. So I would like to see how they're going to pull this off, because let's just say they do, you know, they're going to go with the red tape, obviously, you know, with the social distancing and whatever the case may be. You know, are they going to do it like family members can sit together? Everyone has to sit a seat apart. How is it going to work? You understand what I'm saying? Because I remember we did the math. It was like, oh, if it's 70,000 people in the stadium, 70,000 people capacity as far as seats. And they can do.
Go ahead, finish.
And they can do a certain amount. Then it's like, well, what are you going to get in there? Maybe about 20,000, roughly. I mean, we called that number, didn't we?
Right.
Yes,
and I would imagine the way they're going to do that, Marcus, is they're going to do a little bit of family seating. So if you buy like tickets in bulk, like if you buy 8 tickets in one sitting, they'll allow you to sit together, because that's, you know, that would make sense with what we're seeing right now. But also, what's going to happen? Who's going to sit where? Are they just going to say, here's the amount of tickets we're selling at the price we're selling, and it's sort of first come, first serve when you get in the stadium? Or are they only going to sell 15% of each section and then regulate who's sitting where and making sure there's enough seats between people? That's going to be interesting to see how they do that.
Will they take the seats out?
No, they won't take the seats
out. No, right? They ain't gonna do that.
They'll put tarps over it and put advertisements over it so that way you can't use those sections.
Right.
But the thing is that NFL is not dumb. NFL knows 100% that the fans are a big factor in when it comes to them making money. That's why they have these very, very huge stadiums. You understand? So, for example, if we're going to lose out on fans and we're going to lose out on that revenue, let's try to do our best to lose out as least as possible by trying our best to fill the stands with some type of fans, like, period. That's what they want. Because at the end of the day, this is all about money. I don't care what anybody says. This is all about money.
It always has been.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely, without question. So I want to see how they end up pulling it off, because you got the NCAA that's trying to make sure that they don't get hit with a bunch of lawsuits from family members of student athletes because of this whole coronavirus thing. So they're trying to do their best and they're tackling on the forefront. But you got the NFL that's sitting there saying, yo, you know what? We're going to play games. Listen, you guys could tackle each other all day long for 60 minutes, but we have a problem with you exchanging jerseys after the game. That is just some straight nonsense, without question. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard of in my life. The NFL doesn't even listen to themselves. They are idiotic human beings. They're sitting there saying you can tackle a person for 60 minutes and breathe on them and spit on them and all types of shit, and you don't have to social distance and you don't have to wear a mask. But after the game, you cannot exchange your jersey with Odell Beckham and, I don't know, somebody else.
You know what that's like? That's like the chaperones and teachers at the fifth grade dance telling you you're not allowed to grind. The kids aren't allowed to grind. You know, they got to, like, stay away from each other.
I'd grind on the teacher.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, again, like I said, you know, they're trying to stick within the barriers of, you know, whatever they need to do to get the games going. You know, they're going to stick within that. Is it logical? No, absolutely not. Is it going to get things going? Yes.
By any means necessary, man. It's $1 billion. It's not $1 million business. Football, in the NFL especially, is $1 billion business. There's too much money to fold up like it's tennis or it's baseball. You know, baseball's having such it's $1 billion business. They're gonna figure it out. If they had to trot players out there wearing the Bane mask from Batman 2 in order to make sure they're good, it's gonna happen. You'll see it.
Now, we're going to jump into our favorite part of this discussion. I know it's going to be our favorite part of this whole episode.
Yes.
The possibility of the XFL returning. We've always been a big XFL show since day one.
XFL 2.0?
No, 3.0.
3.0. Yeah, right.
We've always been a big XFL show, so it's been released that ESPN is open to working with new XFL ownership, but part of XFL assets. So meaning like they want to be able to distribute the XFL depending on who owns it. That is huge, Marcus, Mack, and Cameron. We've always been big XFL fans. We started from the very beginning. We're so happy. If this happens because Vince McMahon produced a product that worked. The problem was COVID-19 has not lost yet. So that's the only thing.
Yeah, the whole COVID's undefeated, but yeah, you're right. Vince McMahon, if there's someone that's going to be able to do it, it's him. He's relentless when it comes to things like this in his baby XFL. But you're right. We are the unofficial podcast of the XFL. You know, we were at it from the get-go. And when you sent me the post that they were returning the XFL, I'm not going to lie, I went from 6 to midnight very quickly because I do love me some XFL.
We all do.
Yeah,
I'm thrilled.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled.
The EAC Show are huge advocates for XFL and everything XFL.
So I don't know if you.
I saw a topic. We weren't going to get into this, but the Washington Redskins changing their names. I did see something interesting. One of the teams that the names that they were thinking about getting into was just to switch over to the DC Defenders and just recycle all that gear and memorabilia. And
yeah, but I don't think they could do that because that's still intellectual property that's owned by the XFL. So whoever purchased purchased that with that, because the XFL teams are owned by the XFL. It's not owned by individual owners.
So
I just saw. It came across my ticker. I just saw that the XFL buyers want to start a league next year, and they want to do a 12-week tournament. I think that's a great idea.
So wait, is ESPN talking about buying into XFL? Are they talking about?
No, they're talking about making sure that they're allowed to be the exclusive partners to distribute it, meaning that for any purchases, for any person that purchases the XFL overall market. So let's say, for example, you wanted to buy it, right, at an auction. You're buying it at a discounted rate. You now are the owner of the XFL. Well, the ESPN is telling you, we are gladly here to distribute your content for you.
Right. Which I think is a very dope look. Big shout outs to the mouse again.
Yo, Mickey wins all day long. Yo. As a matter of fact, Marcus Mack and Cameron, I'm watching the Seattle Sounders versus the San Jose Earthquake. It's 0-0, 22 minutes in. And literally, I'm going to tell you right now, Mickey Mouse is winning because there is every advertisement in the world on the TV right now. I see Body Armor, Heineken, Captain Morgan, Target. The whole screen is nothing but advertisements.
Yeah.
Not only that, but Disney is opening officially. All the parks are opening up tomorrow, starting tomorrow. So they're tired. Like we talked about this months ago, but they're tired of losing $35 million a day. They're saying, fuck it, let's get back to business and start, recovering from our losses.
Marcus, you and I had this discussion on the pre-show, and Cameron wasn't on it. Pat McAfee gave his boys, 500 G's. He gave 10 people $50,000 in cash because they got a new FanDuel deal. And shout out to Pat McAfee and the boys because we like the show and respect it and pay homage. If I was to get a deal for this show like that for us, I am smacking somebody with $10,000 in cash easily the day it happens.
On the street. Oh, yeah. Just walk right by them.
Hey,
how you doing?
all ones and straight in his face without question.
Yeah. Women, men of all races, anyone can get it with the 10 G's in my hand, slapping across the face with baby powder in the other hand.
In South Florida, if you slap a woman with $10,000 in all singles, she'll
start twerking.
She might love you for that. This is South Florida. Yeah, that's a fact.
It's called cheetahs. Yeah. No, but seriously, no joking, not for nothing. Real talk. I mean, I'm just so happy if the XFL does make a comeback because the product was a great product. Was it the NFL? No. And anybody that compared it to the NFL, shame on you because it was never supposed to be promoted that way. It was supposed to be promoted as something that allows people to be able to show their skill set to be able to get to that next level, which completely happened because over 30 guys that played in the XFL ended up signing with NFL teams this year, Cameron and Marcus Mack.
Which said a lot, by the way. With them signing to NFL teams, it said a lot about the product and the players that played on those fields, on those XFL fields. It said a whole lot.
Absolutely. They started to value it as a true feeder system once they saw guys like P.J. Walker and Jordan Tiamu and the wide receivers. I can't remember his name. It's been so long now, but they saw the product on the field, and that's exactly what it is. It's another chance for these players that just missed out to show their tape.
All right, we can't wait. Hopefully the XFL ends up coming back. ESPN, we hope you continue to produce the media rights for it between Fox and you guys. You guys own Fox, so it's still Mickey Mouse no matter what. But anyway, I hope the XFL ends up coming back in some way, shape, or form in 2021. And just
Fox,
can't wait because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to get me a Houston Roughnecks shirt or a hat or something because that logo is dope.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the one with the cowboy with the bandana.
No. That's the Renegades. That the Houston one is the one with the old Oilers theme.
And just for the record,
I want the Renegades gear.
And just for the record, I'm not wearing a jersey tonight. It's Friday night, but I'm getting me a XFL jersey, right?
What do you rock on Friday nights usually? What do you got,
Cameron? Do you really want to know?
For you guys that are not watching on YouTube, Marcus Mack is wearing some like fly black and white shirt. I think he's going out into his next bedroom after the show is over because I don't know what club he's going to.
It's Versace, sir. Yeah, it's definitely not going to be a club. No, we're in South Florida right now. I'm going somewhere where it's nice and quarantined.
Wait. Do you have a date with Dana White at Abu Dhabi?
Bro, listen, if I got a date with Dana White, I'm not going to be talking like this.
Did you get an invite? Did you get an invite to UFC 251 fight in Abu Dhabi that I didn't get?
Listen, Cameron, we spoke about this yesterday.
He's our official reporter in the field.
Listen, we spoke about this the other day. We said, man, listen, we need to get some tickets out to Abu Dhabi to Fight Island. We need about 5 tickets, an official EAC show, little section where the EAC, we need to get over there. Definitely.
So shout out to Dana White, the GOAT, for pulling this off.
And shout outs to
51.
And shout outs to wherever I stop at tonight.
Oh my God.
The Checkers across the street.
Get a sweet tea. So shout out to Dana White, UFC 251 Fight Island in Abu Dhabi, Yas Island in Abu Dhabi. Listen, man, they're pulling off this fight. We're gonna see Usman versus Masvidal. Cam, I know you got the we talked about it earlier in the pre-show. I know you got the odds to this fight. You pulled it up, didn't you?
Yes, I do. I have Masvidal is actually plus 195. I'm guessing that's just on the late notice that was given to him. And Usman is at minus 245. So pretty close, actually.
Marcus.
The funny thing is, I was going to ask Cameron. I said, yo, who did he like in this fight?
It's hard for me not to say Masvidal. That's my guy, the baddest motherfucker on the planet. From Miami, South Florida boy. It's hard for me not to say him, but I just think the short notice is going to come into effect. So although I don't know too much about Usman and his fighting style, I guess I would have to pick him, just go chalk and pick Usman.
I'm going with Masvidal. I know Marcus Mack is going with Usman as well.
Yeah.
Not for nothing. I don't know how this guy pulled it off. He lost 20 pounds in 6 days to make weight today. He was at a astounding 170, completely butt naked. They had a towel around him.
I don't know what his regimen is. Yeah. He had to lose 60 pounds. He had to lose 20 pounds in 6 days.
And he did.
Right? I don't know what his regimen is.
You want to know what the regimen is? He's a Miami boy. He followed the diet of the 3 C's: cocaine, coffee, and cigarettes. That's what does it. He knows what he's doing. He strip down to your skippies and you step on the scale. He knows this isn't his first rodeo, man.
He was just one bump away.
I'm literally purchasing that. I can't wait to watch that fight tomorrow. UFC 251 fight. Also the other cards as well. You know, you got Aldo, you got this guy, that guy, you got Paige Van Zandt, you got so many other fighters fighting. I can't wait to watch the fight, in all honesty. Now, Marcus Mack and Cameron, Marcus, you have to figure out a way to put this into the show. Dana White was stunting, showing his room in his hotel in Abu Dhabi. It was ridiculous. The pool was overflowing. His pool was flooding down to the other people's balconies that were underneath him. That's how much stunning he was doing.
He had an infinity pool, just his own room.
No, it was a pool. It was an infinity pool. The problem was it was overflowing and was falling into other people's rooms downstairs. Why? I guess it was just malfunctioning, and he was just starting like, look, my pool is flowing into people's rooms. Like,
yo, listen, when he was saying Cameron, listen, when he said he was stunting, I thought he was about to say there was like 20 girls in there.
That's what I was thinking.
50 girls in there, and they couldn't fit it.
He has to be politically correct, Marcus. He's still running $1 billion industry. He can't do that.
Oh, that's Dana White. Bring in the girls and the cocaine. Listen, that's Dana White, UFC, Abu Dhabi, Fight Island. Bring in the cocaine, bring in the girls. That's what they talking about in Abu Dhabi.
Uncut. He can't do that.
Uncut can mean a few things when you're talking about cocaine and the UFC, but I mean, Dana White's I think he's a married man, if I'm not mistaken. So
That's
you have to
okay.
bite your tongue on that.
Nobody has to take the girls home, but bring them in. Bring them in.
People who listen, don't forget this is Effort Friday episode, so we can say what the fuck we want. The rest of the week, we're clean as hell.
Just fuck it. Yeah, we're definitely, yeah. No pun intended with the we're clean as hell. Because we talking about a whole lot of cocaine and drugs on Effort Friday.
So not for nothing, just to remind everybody, we got Cameron who's going with Usman. We got Marcus Mack who's going with Usman. We got Nick who's going with Usman, and then myself who's going. I'm the only one going with Masvidal. So
do you like those odds?
If Masvidal pulls it off, I'm going to talk my shit on Monday. And Joey Benetti is going to join us on Monday's show. So
big shout out to Joey Benetti. Big shout out to Joey Benetti.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good odds on Masvidal. We know him to be a good fighter. And if you can get plus money on Masvidal, he's been on a tear lately. He's really refined his style as a mixed martial artist. He's a knockout fighter, which is what you want to see. Which brings me to my next point here. I was looking at the prop bets for this fight. They have over under 4.5 rounds. So
Cam, check your camera, Cam.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the. I have to look at the props. So they have it over under 4.5 rounds, which means that Vegas thinks it's going to go the distance to decision. At least that's what the odds are telling us. So if you look at the prop bets, it has here for decision, Usman at -110 and Masvidal to win by decision at +900. Now I know Masvidal's a knockout fighter, so they're thinking if Masvidal wins, it is going to be by knockout. But since the over-under on the rounds are 4.5, they're expecting it to go to decision. So if you think Masvidal can just edge him, that's +900, man. That might be the value pick of the fight.
Yeah, I mean, if you put You put $100 on it, you win $900. I'm
pretty
sure we put $100 on a lot less for less return, Marcus Mack.
Absolutely, I just lost $100 on Korean baseball this morning at 5 a.m.
Nice.
Not for nothing. Well, this part of the show is going to be brought to you by our sponsor, ElCubanoSandwichShop.com. Use the promo code EAC and receive discounts on online pickups or delivery orders. Enjoy a cafe con leche or that natural pre-workout shot of Cuban coffee to start your day. The daily lunch specials and their steak sandwich is next level. Once again, use the promo code EAC. That's ElCubanoSandwichShop.com or 954-906-5110. Remember, use the promo code EAC, and that's El Cubano Sandwich Shop in Coral Springs. Well, guys, we got to get into this MLB talk. We got a little bit of MLB talk. MLB's been doing a really, really good job of these coronavirus testing situations. They're down to about, I think it was 1.6, 66 positive tests in total out of, I think, over 3,000 tests, Marcus Mack and Cameron. But that's not the real reason why I wanted to discuss the MLB. I wanted to take another shot on Effort Friday at Marcus Mack's favorite guy, and that's Commissioner Manfred.
My dookie.
So the reason why I wanted to take a shot at Commissioner Manfred, who is Marcus Mack's favorite guy, is because the NHL has come to an agreement with their players, and the players have come to an agreement with the owners on a new deal that's going to extend for 4 years with the CBA, and the owners and the players both know that they needed each other. Doesn't this sound amazing, Marcus Mack?
Every other league except for MLB.
How?
New deal.
Listen, the MLB,
like this guy,
MLB is the red tie of sports, man.
They're the ugly stepchild right now of sports. Like a new deal. Like he's talking like he's FDR. I mean, they gotta just put something in pen already. Like they keep erasing and rewriting.
Is Rob Manfred disguised as Scrooge McDuck?
Yes.
He's diving into a pool of money. Yeah, that's absolutely what he's trying to be.
No, Rob Manfred is the Grinch disguised as Rob Manfred.
What's the guy from The Simpsons name? You said it before, Marcus. What's his name?
Monty Burns.
He's Monty fucking Burns. That's who he fucking is, yo.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
This guy
man.
gets a deal done with the players, a deal that the players didn't want to do. He implements power and says, we're going to play 60 games. Then comes out on the damn Patrick Show and has the balls to sit there and say, we weren't going to fucking play no more than 60 games.
Listen, Rob Manfred, he's a sprinkle of Scrooge McDuck, Monty Burns, and Dr. Evil all into one.
Does he have the fucking cat?
Yeah, he has the cat. He has the hairless cat. He has it. I'm
Mr.
telling
Bigglesworth?
you.
He's got Mr. Bigglesworth.
Mr. Bigglesworth. I'm telling you, man, because he's ruthless. I'm telling you. How do you come out and say in such a blatant way? It was almost like one of those things where we both know what was going to happen, and we both know that there was nothing you can do about it. Now go to your room, and we'll talk about this tomorrow. And if I hear you crying, I'm going to give you something to cry about. That was Rob Manfred telling the whole MLB.
So Cameron, let me ask you a quick question. I was watching the Pat McAfee show earlier today, and Pat had on Isaac Guillen. Isaac Guillen, former, MLB player, 16 years in the league, manager for the White Sox, manager for the Marlins. He had his times with the media. He stood out and he said what he said. He basically said if he was in charge of the Players Association for MLB and he was Tony Clark, he would literally tell all his players to shut the fuck up because they're literally putting themselves in a bind every time they talk about shit because it literally goes back to the owners and the owners are like, fuck you. Like, it is what it is. We're going to do whatever we want. It's not helping the situation.
The problem is that you can't do that anymore. Back then, you used to be able to do that. Shut the fuck up and play baseball. It is what it is. Tough it out. This is the year we're going to have. But unfortunately, we live in a time where that's really not possible anymore because, one person with hurt feelings is going to go on Twitter and then whoever, administered that message is going to be, hung up on a cross, for God's sake. It's going to be canceled. So, it's tough right now. You want to just, as a baseball fan, want this just to work out for everyone involved. But, what it always comes down to, Emilio, is money. And right now the money's not making sense for someone. And that's why it's not working.
Yeah, Marcus, please. The NHL, and shout out to Gary Bettman. He's the commissioner of the NHL, Marcus Mack. Look him up after the show. He's a great fucking guy because he literally got it. He figured it out. He said the owners need the players and the players need the owners. There's no product without either one of you. So get into the fucking room. Let's work this shit out and let's get fucking sticks on ice and pucks in the fucking goal. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I'm actually excited for hockey.
Yeah, we all need each other, man. That's I mean, I think you said it. You said it best, man. You said it best. There's no way you can get this stuff out to the people without the money, without the media, without all the small little pieces that make everything work. There's no way in the world you can make it happen. It's not just about it's not just about the money. It's not just about the players. It's everything together to make a machine. And like we spoke about this before. Every time we talk about the MLB, we say every single league has gotten it. They figure it out. Yep. And the reason why we're saying they've gotten it is because right now, in this particular time that we're in with COVID-19, is that we have to figure this out. We've hit a hump. And now we have to figure this thing out. How can we make this happen safely, effectively, efficiently? How can we make this thing work? And everybody has got it. But like I said, MLB did get it. But they got it for themselves. They got it for their pockets. It had nothing to do with the players. It had nothing to do with the fans. It had all to do with their pockets, where everybody is trying to make it work and trying to make it make sense for everyone.
Cameron, the NHL literally has hub cities to where they're playing games. And then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the finals and everything else will be held in Edmonton. So in all actuality, if you make it into the playoffs, you're most likely going to be in Edmonton, Canada, Alberta, Canada, for a good almost 3 months. Because you're not leaving.
That just makes you want to be like shoeless Joe Jackson and just start throwing the games. Who wants to be in Edmonton for a month? Fuck.
No, but they did it. They did it for the betterment of the sport. They put the sport first. They knew that they had to take L's in some way, shape, or form. They literally figured out a way to get it done, and they have a 4-year agreement on top of agreeing to what the is going on right now in the world. Shout out to the NHL and shout out to Gary Bettman, MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred, Tony Clark. Get your shit together.
Yo, listen, that really makes me want to ask. You said he did for the sports, right? For the sport. He did it for the sport. It makes me think, has Commissioner Rob Manfred ever played any sports?
That motherfucker played racquetball. It's called squash.
Played water polo.
Yeah, he's from somewhere upstate New York. I'm from Brooklyn, so upstate New York, if it ain't, shout outs to Rough Buff, Rochester, all them.
The last sport he played is when his parents signed a permission slip to allow him to play Little League or some shit like that.
Yeah, he's a douche. Big douche.
That's it.
Big douche. I'm telling you, man.
Big douche energy.
Big douche. Yeah, his energy is douchish. Very douche-esque, man. Very douche-esque. For real. He's definitely the kid that got beat up in school. For real, man. What's wrong with...
We went from, like, a month or two ago when this initially was started, like, let's, respect, blah, blah, blah. It's probably really hard. To now just saying, fuck it, he's a douche. Like,
no, here's the thing. I respect Rob Manfred. I respect Commissioner Rob Manfred for his business acumen, and I respect this gangster because let's just keep it a buck. The man knew what he was doing from the very beginning, and all of the players knew. They knew. Everybody knew. Everybody knew. He's like, listen, man, the bottom line is this got to be what it is. It's got to be. And he came out after and just pretty much told you guys, hey, listen.
Yeah, we had off the record interviews that, we knew this was happening. We couldn't discuss it, but we knew this was happening.
I mean, listen, he said it. Forget what might have been spoken. I ain't hear nothing about what was spoken about. All I know is that Rob Manfred pretty much said it in a nutshell. He said, listen, it was never part of the plan to give you guys what you wanted. You started off at 114, 70, you're getting 60. They already did the math because they knew what they was willing to pay out. Rob Manfred already knew what he was going to do. So that's why I said I respect Rob Manfred for his business acumen. I respect him and all of his partners and all of the other douchebags that's around him that said, man, fuck them and fuck the money that they think they're going to get because this is what we're going to pay them. This is our bottom line. And that's all that matters. That's Emilio A. Cologne. That's the big one Cameron did it. They love when I finish. They love when I close out the show like this, because we love Rob Manfred, but we can't jack what he's doing because it's about the sport, man. It's about the sport.
So now we're going to get into the NBA situation that's over here in Orlando at the bubble. There's been a lot of talk back and forth. People on Twitter and social media showing their living quarters and what kind of food they're getting and this, that, and third and blah, 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 blah. Listen, I don't feel not for one of you NBA players. You guys negotiated everything that you're getting right now. The simple fact that you didn't literally address what kind of meals you were going to be getting during this whole bubble situation doesn't matter to me at all. You were literally worried about having barbers, having players' lounges, having all types of other shit, and you didn't care about what kind of quality food you were getting inside of the budget that you needed to have for your bubble situation down in Orlando at COVID tournament or Orlando tournament or Mickey Mouse tournament, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I don't want to hear shit about no food or the quality of it if you didn't think about it back then when you were negotiating this shit.
Absolutely. I'm completely – it reminds me of the athletes like, Jamal Adams and Raheem Mostert and all these guys asking for a trade. They signed a 3-year contract. 1 year later, now they want out of the contract. Like, you signed this damn thing. Like, you're the one who agreed to all this. Like, what do you mean you want to back out now? Say it again. We have some of these players who, like Jamal Adams and Raheem Mostert and David Njoku, who signed these 3-year contracts, and then 1 year later, they want out of the contract. Like, you agreed to this shit. You're the one who signed the damn contract. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
you know what?
After you sign, now you want to negotiate Emeril Lagasse cooking your food after you sign the contract?
You know what's so crazy? Because we spoke about when we was talking about the Mozart contract, we was like, he feel like he's worth more. And then afterwards, we spoke about it. He was like, but this was just last year. Why did he sign the contract in the first place? He knew what he was worth last week. You might as well say he just knew. Like, what happened? What's the difference between now and then?
I don't know. You know what the problem is that he's got to check himself, because that offensive line in San Francisco and the way they run the football, I could run from the halfback spot and probably get 80 yards a game. Like, he just needs to chill with the 3-year contract he's got and then figure it out from there. This man is old, and before this, he didn't have a job. He went to 5 teams in 1 year, and now he thinks he's good enough to back out of a contract? Come on, man.
Leave it to the EAC show on Effort Friday to talk about the NBA and get into Raheem. Remember Radio Raheem?
Radio Raheem. Yeah, it's a fact. Yeah, man. Yeah, look, I definitely wanted the same thing.
Honestly, the NBA players need to tone it down a little bit, Marcus Mack and Cameron. They need to tone it down a little bit. It's not the end of the world. You're only dealing with this for like a month. Stop complaining. Listen, be thankful that we're able to put on something, to play and finish up the season, because it's not going to be like this forever. So please cut the complaining out, man. We know you guys are used to steak dinners and this, that, and third, but also be mindful for the people that are actually trying to take care of you during this time. Be humble. Humble yourself a little bit, okay? We get it. You're not getting the best shit in the world, but it ain't the fucking worst neither.
Right, mind you, it's only for 2 days, the first 48 hours, that they get those half-ass meals. And then they have personal chefs per team. So fuck, man. Like, all these people out here that are eating pieces of cardboard, struggling like hell right now, you can't eat like a half-ass meal for 48 hours? Like, come on, man. Just rough it. I'm
going to be honest with you. Adam Silver and these boys need to be more worried about, and this is the topic that we're going to get into in another sport, but it's piggybacking off of the same shit. They need to be more worried about what the fuck are they going to do if somebody tests positive inside of the bubble, like what just happened with MLS. The MLS has done an amazing job of testing people and making sure that they're all COVID-19 free before they enter the bubble. But there's been teams that are coming into the bubble with positive tests that had to fall out. Complete teams, Nashville, FC Dallas, completely can't compete because their teams are just loaded with COVID-19 cases. And now Sporting Kansas City has one player who entered the bubble negative, but then tested positive after he was in the bubble.
It's going to be hard to detect, too, because, you can get tested, wait 2 days for your test, get negative, but during those 2 days, you could have picked it up. I mean, it's going to be really tough in order to try to figure this out. I mean, I can only speak on the NBA, on the team I root for, the Miami Heat. I know that everyone's there in Orlando besides 2 players, Bam and Kendrick Nunn, who are 2 very important players. You could probably say the second and third best players on the team. So it's going to be interesting to see how they delegate, how they figure this out in order for everyone safe.
Yeah, I think Marcus Mack, I think the sports are doing a great job. Shout out to Dana White. He's doing an amazing job of literally covering all. You've seen it. You've seen the pre-show stuff that I sent you, Marcus, and the pre-show stuff that I sent to Cameron. Marcus, you could pull that up for the viewers to see. There is a reporter who's doing an MMA news report for USA Today showing how well the testing in Abu Dhabi for UFC 251 has been. He's actually going through the process, getting tested. He's reporting on the event himself from Abu Dhabi. So you can actually see what they're going through. So these leagues are doing, and these leagues or these sporting events are trying to do a really good job of making sure that people are tested properly, because results are coming back. People are being found positive. They're removing them and getting them out of the way. But like Cameron and I have spoken about, Marcus Mack, they're moving them out of the way, and the show fucking goes on no matter what.
Mm-hmm. And we spoke about this with NBA. We were saying, with the players that contracted the virus, it's pretty much like they're expendable at that point. You know what I'm saying? So the last thing anybody wants to do, any athlete at all, they don't want to get this virus because it's like, you know, now they're a liability, they're expendable. Okay, so everyone wants to stay out the way. So it's like, man, you know, everybody has to stay safe and do what they got to do. So everyone that's part of any administration of any league that's doing everything in their power to make sure no one contracts the virus, which, by the way, if more athletes contract the virus, then that slows up the money. That definitely affects the bottom line. And, you know, which we could never forget that, obviously, right? So, you know, big shout outs to them. And our prayers go out to everyone who has contracted the virus. And I don't know how this is going to work, because remember when we was talking about the with over in Chicago with MLB, when they were saying that they're only testing every like 7 days when they're supposed to be testing every 2 days. Right. So now when there's negligence of that magnitude, right, now that might not seem as big. Like, they're still testing. Again, we talk about they're just going by the red tape. They're doing the bare minimum to make sure that they pass the guidelines, right? So when they're doing it like that, then that still leaves room for somebody to slip in, and then a lot of people can get sick. So it's like, man, you know, for everyone, again, you know, who's part of the administration on any of these leagues that's doing everything that they can do and following not just the guidelines and doing the bare minimum, that's doing what they have to do to make sure that these players and all of the staff is safe and healthy. Big shout outs to them. Absolutely, without question. So I'm Emilio A. Colon. That's Marcus Mack, UCF activist, overall sports enthusiast, the big one. Joined us for this show. Make sure you check us out on Fridays. Like, subscribe on all podcast platforms on YouTube. Can I say fucking Fridays? Yo, do me a favor. Do the speculation talk over outro. Speculation talk over. Not. Yo, listen. Close out the show. We're gonna holler at y'all later, man. Later. Oh, sugar honey iced tea. It's the EAC Show.